You too. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show, this Monday morning edition for September 23, 2019, and it is a Metal Monday show for you. So we'll rock you in and out with our hard-hitting rock and roll to get you going. And it's also, of course, Monday. That means Scott Moore from iTalkSEC Radio on the Jay Barker Show with us for the rest of this hour to talk college football. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning, Gary. How you doing, buddy? Good to hear from you.
Yeah, good to have you, my friend. A lot to cover. I've already given my little commentary on Mike Leach, and we're gonna get to that. But let's start with Alabama Southern Miss 49-7. I thought it was one of the more efficient games that Alabama's played this season. I thought that they got out and got started fast, even with injuries continuing to mount. Defensively, played a really good game. Only gave up the one score there right before the half. And, Tua did his thing. They were able to get him out again and keep him fresh for the stretch run. And I just thought just a really solid effort from Alabama all the way around. What about you?
Yeah, I did too. I first of all, this team is starting to come together from a physicality standpoint, from a defensive standpoint, all the parts. I mean, everybody knows you're nowhere near a finished product in the first month of the season. We've talked about those cliches, about the biggest improvement a team makes is from week 1 to week 2. I have never understood that in my life. Maybe you play better in week 2, but I don't think you really know who you are until you've played a month of the season. And once you find out kind of who you are, then you start to develop who you are. And that's what happens in October. So the running game is better. Najee, I thought, has had 2 really, really productive games in a row now. The running game is better. The offensive line was better. And then the passing game just continues to just get better and better as well. Tua is so efficient, so accurate, and the receivers can just do so many things. This is, I think, the best offense in the country by a wide margin. I'm not talking about just putting up stats and 9 touchdowns and all that stuff and getting beat by somebody. I'm talking about efficiency, quick strike, players doing what they're supposed to do. This team's only going to get better offensively. And just watching the rest of the SEC, Gary, I like this team a lot, a whole lot more than I did week 1. I can tell you that. So going into week 2, or the second month of the season now, I think there's a lot to like about this Alabama team, a lot.
I'm with you. I do too. And one of the things to like, Scott, and you can't sugarcoat it. One of the things to like is the schedule. I mean,
absolutely.
It has become pretty much a joke. And, a lot of that's not Alabama's fault. I mean, you play in the SEC, but I don't know. Maybe A&M will rise up and show us something that they weren't able to show us against Auburn. But I'm not counting on it. I just don't see them as a quality football team. Tennessee and Arkansas back-to-back, they're brutal teams. They're terribly bad. I think this is going to come down to a 2-game regular season schedule. At Mississippi State in mid-November, maybe that'll turn out to be a tougher game as we move ahead. But LSU and Auburn, home against LSU at Auburn, that's the schedule for me with Alabama. Those are the 2 games they've got to win. I think the rest, the other 10, they just show up and play, and they're going to win those games.
Well, Alabama's not the only team in the country facing this dilemma. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Auburn's got 4 ranked teams left, but that includes Georgia, and also it includes the Tide. LSU's got 4 ranked teams left: Penn State, Georgia with 3, Alabama with 3, Wisconsin with 3. These are all national championship contenders too, by the way. Florida's got 3 ranked teams left: Oklahoma 2, and Clemson none. So. Listen, there's still hills to go, and I've told everybody this, especially in the afternoon show. Here's the deal, man. When you get to the end of October and November comes, and as we've been talking about, if Alabama and LSU are both undefeated, if they handle their business, they will be. That game is going to be the biggest game in college football this year. There will not be a bigger game. It'll be bigger than Notre Dame, Georgia. It'll be the epicenter of college football, and everybody's eyes are on that game. Joe Burrow versus Tua. I can see the storylines now. So the schedule and its lack of great games are going to go away when that game comes along.
Yeah, and I'm with you 100%, Scott, and that'll be the biggest game in college football unless Alabama and Auburn rolling to the Iron Bowl, both 11-0, and then that'll trump that game.
Exactly. That's my whole point, is that when we get to November, that's when national titles are won. That's when the college football playoff rankings come out. So, everybody's they're losing sight out there, I think, out there in the public about schedules and about how difficult it is, because you're playing in the most difficult division in sports, okay? Let's be honest. This SEC West is ridiculous how good it is. And all that is going to come to a nice little head here when we get to November, because you're right. And Mississippi State's got a really good chance, too, of being ranked right around that point. So, I'm not saying they're a great team, but, I mean, they're probably going to be ranked in November. So, all that being said, this schedule is going to work itself out. And if you get to Atlanta, you're probably right now looking like like you could play an undefeated Georgia, or at least at worst case scenario, a one-loss Georgia. So I think the schedule is going to be fine. But for this Alabama team and all the injuries and the youth that's starting, this is exactly what the doctor ordered, considering what the Tide's gone through the last 2 years with the injury bug in the 2017 season, last year, everything else. So I don't think you have to apologize for anything at the end of the day. I think it'll all work itself out very, very well, especially on a national stage.
If you want to call in and talk to Scott, you got a question or comment, the Bud Light Hotline, 205-342-9904. Before we get to this break, we'll go ahead and get Tom on. Good morning, Tom.
Morning, Gary. Morning, Scott. I really enjoyed this part of the Monday morning show. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't want to hear your level-headed explanations. Okay, I know both of y'all analyze and you're level-headed, but the kicking situation has gone from the sublime to the ridiculous. And I don't want to hear y'all try to explain it away in a calm, cool method, okay? Let's take that one on off the table. The football gods, little g, have a sadistic sense of humor. This is crazy. Okay, now I want to hear what y'all got.
Well, Tom, I'm not going to disagree with you. I said
it's
this.
Crazy.
I said last week everybody's got a burden to bear, and for Alabama football, it's the place kicking. It's just not. It's just destined to always. It seems like be an issue. And
well, go ahead and take my side then about the football gods, little G, having a sadistic sense of humor.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, you bring in a kicker
it's not funny anymore, football gods. You can get off our back.
All right, Tom. Yeah, good to hear from you. We'll comment. Scott, you do start scratching your head. You look at the stats. They back up that this has been they've missed more field goals than any team in the nation since whatever date you want to go back to. They don't, it's been one problem after another. It's been one highly recruited kicker after another. And they've always, it seemed like, going back to, I guess, when Saban got here and Lee Tiffin was here, he was very, very consistent. And there have been, times Griffith had his moments, but all in all, it's been an issue. And now you get a kid in here in Will Reichard who everybody feels like is going to be a star, even though he missed 3 field goals. He missed an extra point, but still everybody's impressed. And then the guy goes out and I don't know. Have you heard exactly what happened? He kicked the tee or something instead of the ball, but he got a
hip flexor. Yeah, hip flexor, and I certainly understand. That's one of those irritating injuries, and kind of put him out of the ball game. And I think he'll be fine. He may need to miss this week and get to a bye week. If you ever had a hip flexor, especially as a kicker, happened to me when I was a kicker, I certainly understand it. It is a painful injury that just the only way it gets better, don't kick, rest your leg. And I would assume, I'm not a doctor and I'm not Coach Saban, but I would assume he would probably be out this weekend as well. And then you get him ready for the next 2 weeks after that. So, but yeah, that's a rare injury. It doesn't happen. You don't see this happen often. But I think the real thing that I took away Saturday, the punting situation is a major concern.
Well, if Skylar DeLong doesn't speed it up, I'm shocked he hadn't got one blocked yet. I mean, you can't pop the top on a Pepsi back there and have a snack and then punt the ball. I mean, and if you're going to be that slow, then the least we could expect is to hit the ball 40 yards in the air. I mean, I don't know if it's a confidence thing. I don't know. I don't listen. You know more about kicking. You said I don't know. I know nothing. I was that kid in practice. After practice, when I punted or kicked, everybody said he'll never be a punter or kicker. So I know nothing about it, but I know this much. If you're going to be a punter at this level, Division I, you got to get the ball off faster, and you're going to have to start hitting it better, or they're going to have to look at another option because it's just I'm shocked he hasn't had one blocked yet.
Well, Gary, I really believe that punting is a lot like a golf swing. I would say it's very, very similar when you're hitting the ball well in golf. You get these stretches where you just go, man, I am playing extremely well. And then all of a sudden it goes south for you. And when it goes south, it is hard. You know how difficult it is to get your swing back. Or another example would be putting. You're putting. Sometimes you putt extremely well one day, and then a couple of days later you can't even buy one. That's the way it is, I think, with a punter. I really do. I mean, unless you're J.K. Scott, where you're just automatic. I think it's a real – just watching his body language, watching him kick, he's taking way too much time for one. But, yeah, the confidence, the shanks, not getting the ball off well, this has been going on for a while.
Well, it's been going on since he got here. I mean, let's just be honest about it. You're talking about like you putt well one day and you don't putt the next. He's never made any putts. If you want to make this a golf analogy, and listen, and people say don't be critical. I'm not being critical. I'm just stating what I see. If you're going to be the punter at the University of Alabama, you got to punt the ball better. I mean, that's just a minimum expectation that you can at least be average at punting, and he has not been, and that's another reason it's disappointing to lose Reichard, because Reichard had the ability to punt the football too, Scott.
Yeah, he's got a powerful leg. He's got a much more stronger leg than Skylar DeLong does. Maybe you have to go back to Mike Bernier. He was still on the team and punted well last year, even though Mike's leg isn't what you'd want it to be, but he's still around. He was consistent last year. So I think this next week, and here's the thing, Gary, this team isn't punting a lot this year because of the explosive offense. You're getting big plays. There isn't right now, there's not many opportunities to punt, and you just said it. When you get in there and you have an opportunity to punt, you got to produce. You have to. You got to be able to flip the field. You're going to need your punter in November. We just talked about it. You're going to have to have a punter that can flip the field and get momentum through the kicking game. So that's an ongoing issue. Hopefully Will Riker will get healthy, come back, and fix that problem. But unless Skylar DeLong fixes what he's doing in his head and mechanically and everything else, he's not going to be a punter much longer in the Southeastern Conference. He's going to be standing over there with a clipboard. And that's just, again, that's not being critical. That is a fact. The best guy always plays, right? That's the way it is.
Well, you're right, Scott, and it's
an issue.
You're right about this too. Alabama doesn't punt a lot, but when you play better competition, the kicking game could decide the game. So it's an area whether it's Skylar or someone else. That's something they've got to shore up. I mean, it's teetering on disaster with that punting game. All right, we got to get to a break. We'll come back. We've got another phone call from JR waiting to talk with Scott. We'll go there next. If you want to get through and be part of the conversation, the Bud Light hotline is 205-342-9904. We'll continue our discussion college football with Scott Moore from iTalkSEC Radio on the Jay Barker Show right after this. 9:39, it's a Metal Monday. Cranking up some Scorpions for your listening pleasure to get you going. We're going full speed here with Scott Moore from the Jay Barker Show and iTalkSEC Radio. Talking Alabama, Southern Miss. We're going to touch on some other SEC games in the next segment. We'll finish up our conversation on the Tide and the Golden Eagles and looking ahead for Alabama. Scott, as we said, a complete performance against Southern Miss. Ole Miss rolls in here. I mean, the line is what is it now, 34, something like that?
Yeah, 34.5, 35. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
There's no reason to think this is going to be any different than any of these other games. I mean, they're in the SEC, but they've lost at Memphis. They beat a bad Arkansas team. Southeastern Louisiana hung around for a while, and then they lost at home. I know Cal's a pretty good team, but they lost at home to Cal. I mean, I see no reason to believe this game is going to be competitive into the third quarter. Do you?
No, I don't. This is probably going to be very similar to the last time Ole Miss rolled into Tuscaloosa and last year. You know, Ole Miss scored on the first play of the game last year, and then Alabama scored 62 unanswered in the ball game. I think it's going to be very similar. I don't think Ole Miss is anywhere near as good on defense as they were a year ago, and they're certainly not as good on offense. They don't have they have three receivers on that. They were on that team last year that are in the NFL now, and a left tackle as well. So, yeah, they're struggling. Matt Corral is a quarterback, a redshirt freshman. He played a little bit last year. A very highly recruited guy when he came out of California and ended up at Ole Miss. But they just don't have a lot of weapons around them. Their offensive line is suspect. And, you know, quite frankly, they're probably not too much better than Southern Mississippi. So this is, you know, an SEC opener. You'll treat it as such at home and work on all the things that you need to do to get better. And young guys get another opportunity to play against SEC competition at home, 2:30 CBS game. So you want to improve this week, get better. And listen, I thought the young guys that played this past weekend, I really love Jordan Battle in the secondary, Gary. He is always where he needs to be. He's physical. And then when Christian Barmore got to play in the second half, he plays with a level of intensity on that defense that brings everybody out. You know,
sure does.
I think he creates energy over there. He can be dominant at times. And when DJ Dale beat up a little bit, we've got guys that need to step up over there too. But I'll tell you, I think Shane Lee and Christian Harris have played extremely well. I always watch the defense, and I know you do too. I always watch to see, are people where they need to be? Are there a lot of broken assignments or there are missed assignments? I didn't think there was a lot of those on Saturday, and I like what I saw there, and I think everybody's coming along well. Again, I think all the youth that's playing, again, it's talented youthful players, and they're very, very good. I think by the time we get to, you know, late October, early November, you're not a freshman anymore around here. There's no more excuses. You're going to be expected to follow out your assignment and play very, very, very disciplined, and also play with a lot of intensity for 60 minutes. So they're learning all those things now, and it's kind of like going through spring practice with actual game practice. These games are like spring practice almost. So I like where the defense is right now, though. I think they improved a lot from the last 2 weeks, and I think they're only going to get better, and I like where they are.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I'm with you on Barmore too. You got to start playing these young defensive linemen. You got to get them in there, all of them, because I'm telling you, this is a different era in college football. We've talked about it. You want to develop players, but guys aren't going to wait around 3 or 4 years to play if they think they're good enough. And defensive line is an area where you can get guys in, and I think that's a position that not just Barmore, but Stephon Wynn, others, get them in there, let them play. All right, let's go to the Bud Light Hotline. JR is waiting to ask a question and have a comment. Good morning, JR. You're on with Scott Moore.
Good morning, Gary, Scott.
Hey, JR.
Yeah, I was wanting to continue on the conversation, if you don't mind, for a moment, back to the kickers. I hate to kick a kicker when they're down, but yeah, we've had a few down years on the kicking game, and I was just wondering, is there a problem with the people that, you know, the coaches of the kickers, or I can't make a reasonable explanation for why we have such problems with the kickers, because we have recruited well.
Well, I don't think it's recruiting, and well, you're right about that. I don't think it's coaching either. Again, kickers they're a different breed. It's a strong mental game. One thing about Judge Bulovas is when he got there, you know, his problem was kicking off a tee and going from kicking off a tee to kicking off the ground. That's a big adjustment for a high school kicker. Huge, especially, you know, when you get here and your trajectory and all that can be a little bit low. I felt like he was kicking the ball very, very low when he first got there. I think he's improved on that. I thought he kicked off well Saturday, guys. Yeah. And that's important. I thought his leg, he's got a very strong leg, and I think he's improved, but I still think he can get a whole lot better. But I think the trajectory problem and not having a tee early on for him was a big, big issue. And he's had a hard time dealing with that, I think.
Yeah. Well, that was one question, but I Also wanted to, touch on the upcoming game with Mississippi. They've been on their skids also with their last couple of years, and their coach this year. Do you feel like he's going to hang around, or when we get rid of him?
All right, thanks for the phone call, JR. Yeah, let's talk about Matt Luke. It is what it is. He was a guy that is well liked there, played there, took over after a difficult situation with Hugh Freeze. Got two big-time coordinators in there, Mac McIntyre and Rich Rodriguez. But it's a legitimate question. If the wheels come off at Ole Miss and you got two coordinators that are former head coaches, do you think Matt Luke could be on his way out, or do you think they'll hang with him regardless of how it plays out this year?
No, I'll tell you this: the Ole Miss people I know over there, and a lot of decision makers over in Oxford, I think they're watching this thing really, really closely. I think they felt like they needed to get that game last weekend. Sure, there was a controversial call late, but you got Cal coming across the country, and you can't win that game at home. I know they're ranked 25th in the country, but still, Ole Miss signed up and have been beaten twice now, decisively out there and then at home by Cal. And I think that they are watching this very, very closely. And right now, it's between them and Arkansas, the worst team in the SEC West is. I mean, Arkansas is dreadful, but Ole Miss is pretty. They're not too much better either, and they can't recruit very, very well right now. They got a lot of issues all over. Mississippi State has really gotten a ton of momentum over there in state with Coach Moorhead, and so and their reaction is going to be, hey, is Mississippi State that continues to get better like they did against Kentucky Saturday, and we're at home losing. Yeah, they're not going to sit by and let this happen very long. So I think it's becoming a very, very critical year for them. And I mean, they probably got 3 games too on their schedule, Gary, that they're going to get absolutely hammered in, starting this weekend, and then LSU and Auburn as well. And those are going to be games that they have zero chance of winning, and they really could get beat as bad as you could possibly think. And if they have poor showings in all 3 of those games, and right now there's no reason to think they won't, then, the administration, everybody over there, they're going to go, we may need to go in a different direction. So he's not on the hot seat yet, but it could start getting really, really hot beginning this weekend, and particularly against the big opponents in the SEC West.
Yeah, let's move on, Scott. They're awful. I mean, that's just the bottom line. They're not any good. Let's take a break, and let's come back with our final segment. I want to get to a couple teams that are pretty good, Georgia and Auburn, and discuss their games this past weekend. Yeah. One more segment with Scott Moore from the Jay Barker Show and iTalkSEC Radio here on the Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 FM.
To the far side, the 2 tight ends are stacked on the near side. Here's the snap. Tua fakes the inside give, throws the flank. Henry Ruggs. See ya! Touchdown, Alabama, 45 yards.
Yeah, Henry Ruggs, in most cases, when he catches the ball, it's see ya. As we welcome you back on a Metal Monday. Scott Moore with us from iTalkSEC Radio and the Jay Barker Show. The long throw that he caught, what was remarkable about Ruggs on that one, and I don't want you to spend too much time on this guy because I want to touch on some other games, but he turned around because the ball was a little underthrown by Tua. He turned around to face the ball. The DB's running at him full speed. He catches the ball. I'm thinking, well, he's going to be tackled because it was underthrown. He spins around and still runs off and leaves the guy. I don't know that I've ever seen anything like that. No,
I haven't. I will say this, too. Listen, both these receivers right now, they're both going to be All-Americans. And Henry Ruggs is having his biggest season as Jerry Jeudy had last year. And Jerry is having a great year, too. But, man, the last 2 ball games from Henry Ruggs have been spectacular. And, again, pick your poison moving forward. Last week it was Devontae Smith. Jalen Wallace is going to have his turn as well. But, man, Ruggs has just gotten so much better. And his ability to focus and then turn on the Jets afterwards, man, he has become a big-time receiver and pretty much a first-round draft pick, too, in next spring's draft. he's quite a player, Gary.
Yeah, he is. All right, let's get to Georgia Notre Dame. Georgia gets the win. I thought it was clear they were the better football team, but not by a lot. I mean, Notre Dame played them, toe-to-toe most of that game and had the ball there at the end with an opportunity to win, and Georgia's defense rose up. A good win for Georgia, but not the dominant win that many had predicted.
Yeah, Brian Kelly. Let's give Brian Kelly, first of all, great credit for coaching a heck of a ball game. They went to their tight ends. Georgia finally took those tight ends away in the second half. And the thing is, as we all knew, Notre Dame had two backs out. They could not run the football, Gary, when they wanted to. They did it. When they, at times when they had to, just to take time off the clock and give a different look. But they just didn't. They couldn't match Georgia's physicality. I will tell you this though: Notre Dame's defense was 120th in the country against the run. And they played about as well as they could against the run. DeAndre Swift, 98 yards on 16 carries. Listen, Notre Dame did a fantastic job. I think Georgia thought that they were probably going to run for 225, 275, maybe 300 yards on Notre Dame, and it just didn't happen. So, and again, questionable decisions by Kirby Smart in that ball game late. You're up 13 and you decide, or 10, you decide to go for it, kick a field goal there late and keep the game alive a little bit. I think on 4th and a yard there, if you're who you think you are offensively, you go for it and then go in and put the game-winning touchdown. But Georgia, with some of its decision-making late in the ball game, they cracked the door wide open for Notre Dame to go in there and steal that game. But, the Irish really, I thought they played extremely well. They just did not have the running game and the ability to, knock Georgia off the ball. But I do think that the Irish are well where they are right now, ranked number 9. I think they are certainly one of the 10 best teams in the country. And in Georgia, maybe not as great as we all thought they were at the end of the day.
All right, let's get to Auburn. Quality win on the road at Texas A&M. And this Auburn team has got off to the type of start that we've seen propel them to their special seasons. They've navigated a tougher schedule than most have played. I'm not saying it's brutal, but a great comeback on the road to beat Oregon in the season opener at Arlington. Oregon's a good team. Then they win at Kyle Field. They've got momentum. They're a physical team. I thought that they weren't flashy on Saturday, but they just they were tougher than A&M. I thought they had a good game plan. Your starting quarterback throws for 100 yards. That's not a ton. They only had 299 yards of total offense, but yet they controlled the game. That's what good football teams do. They control the game even if they don't rack up big stats, and they won the game fairly comfortably. The final score is not representative of the fact that they were total command. A&M added a late touchdown, but Auburn's looking like a quality team to me at this point in the year.
Well, Auburn's defense, I think, right now is probably the best in the conference. I don't think that's a stretch by any stretch of the imagination. They're physical up front. Derek Brown is this year's answer to what Alabama had last year. In Quentin Williams, he is dominant up front. Mm-hmm. He is relentless as well. He played extremely hard and dominated the ball game. They had no answer for him at all. And Auburn's defensive front controlled that ball game. And listen, line of scrimmage is how you win in the SEC. And their defense was absolutely overwhelming at times. So I thought their defense played much better against A&M than Clemson's did. So. Very, very, very solid win for Auburn. Everything, kicking game, special teams, nice kick returns they had, and this is turning into a really good football game. Got some challenges ahead, at Florida, at LSU, and then their schedule is going to get much more difficult moving forward. But they've also surpassed 2 tests this year, Gary, that a lot of people didn't think they would, and that's winning with Oregon, on a neutral field and then at A&M. So Auburn's off to a dang good start, and is as impressive as anybody in college football right now, if we're honest about it.
All right, just yes or no, because we're out of time. Is Arkansas the worst SEC team in the last 10 years?
Yes.
It's just yeah.
Not well coached, Gary. They're not well coached, and you hear this term, which is way overused in the league, buy-in. Everybody's buying in. We've all got everybody to – well, they're not buying in Arkansas, okay? Chad Morris is doing everything he can, and it's just following deaf ears over there. I don't think that experiment's going to work. I think Arkansas knows it. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they continue to get through the year like they are, that Arkansas says, you know what, it's time to make a decision, go in another direction. I'll be shocked, honestly, as bad as this team is, if Chad Morris gets another year at Arkansas.
All right, and real quickly, will Pruitt get through the season at Tennessee? Just yes or no?
Nah, I'm going to say yes, but a shaky yes, very shaky.
Yeah, it's a mess up there, mess at Arkansas. All right, thanks, Scott.